Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're heading straight into some pretty murky waters deep in Australian mythology. We're going to unpack one of the most, well, elusive cryptids out there, the Bunyip.
Elucid is definitely the word. If Nessie has an identity crisis, the Bunyip is something else entirely.
Right, a total existential breakdown. It's this creature of contradictions, lurking in billabong swamps.
Yeah.
And it just defies any single description.
And that's really our mission today, isn't it? To look at that contradiction. We're using your sources, the history, the Aboriginal lore, the biological speculation, even that really interesting fictional tactical guide you found.
Yeah, that one's fun.
It is. But we're looking at the Bunyip not just as some monster, but as this really potent cultural symbol. It kind of sits at the crossroads of spiritual guardian, ecological memory, and maybe some colonial confusion, too.
That framing feels crucial. So before we sort of jump in, let's get the basics down. The name Bunyip, it comes from languages like Wemba Wemba or Weragaya, right? Down in Victoria.
That's correct. And while it often gets translated simply as devil or evil spirit,
Yeah.
well, it's a bit misleading, isn't it?
How so?
Because in the actual spiritual context, it's much more complex. Across different indigenous traditions, it's consistently seen as an ancient guardian, a powerful figure tied to enforcing sacred laws, especially around water sources.
Okay, so guardian, not just monster. Got it. Let's dive into section 1 then. The sources really lean into the confusion about what this thing even looks like.
Oh, absolutely. Its most famous trait is just how wildly inconsistent the descriptions are. It feels like everyone who claimed to see one saw something completely different.
Which suggests, what? Shape-shifting? Or maybe just people seeing different things and calling them the same name.
Could be either, or maybe a bit of both. Or perhaps it's more like a collective memory, pulling from different sources. There's very little common ground, really. It's usually described as large, anywhere from a calf size up to, a small hippo.
Okay, that's big.
Yeah. And often with huge, maybe glowing eyes, sometimes a huge mouth, occasionally described as beak-like. But beyond that, it fragments.
The settler accounts, though, they seem to kind of crystallize into two main types based on the sources. First, there's the seal dog version.
Yes, that's one major category. Descriptions of something maybe 4 to 6 feet long, shaggy, dark fur, a round head, often compared to a bulldog, prominent ears, maybe whiskers. Very aquatic looking, like a seal or a big otter.
Okay, I can picture that. But then there's the other one, the long-necked variety. And this sounds totally different.
Completely different. We're talking 5 to 15 feet long, so much larger. It's got this long neck, a head more like a horse or an emu, sometimes even small tusks or horns mentioned. This is the type often linked to William Buckley's accounts.
It's hard to imagine those being the same animal. Zoologically, it seems almost impossible.
It really does. And just to show how chaotic those early colonial attempts at description were, one of your sources mentions George French Angus collecting a description of the Bunyip as, get this, an enormous starfish.
An enormous starfish. Seriously.
Yeah.
Wow, that just perfectly shows how settlers were maybe trying to map this known spiritual idea onto any weird thing they saw in the water, doesn't it?
Precisely. And maybe that ambiguity is the point, culturally speaking. Its power within Aboriginal culture partly comes from its mystery. It lives in these liminal spaces, swamps, billabongs, deep water holes across southeastern Australia.
And its role there is?
It acts as a powerful cautionary tale. It's nature's consequence, enforcing boundaries. It punishes people who break sacred laws. Maybe kids wandering too close to forbidden water, or strangers disrespecting the place.
So it's the ultimate keep-out sign, but alive and terrifying.
You could say that. It's a boundary enforcer. You don't just get a written warning. You get this entity that might consume your spirit if you ignore the lore. It's a system that helped preserve both people and the environment for generations.
Okay, so we have the spiritual guardian established. But that didn't stop European settlers from trying to, well, literally capture it, right? Let's look at that historical confusion. Mid-19th century, there was this real frenzy to prove the Bunyip was a real animal.
Oh, absolutely. The 1840s and 50s were peak Bunyip hunting time, scientifically speaking. It really kicked off in 1845 with the Geelong Advertiser. That was apparently the first time Bunyip was used in print in a colonial paper.
And what did they report?
They reported a strange skull had been found, and importantly, that an Aboriginal man had recognized it as a Bunyip skull. That sparked huge curiosity.
And that led to the famous skull of 1847, the one displayed in the Australian Museum.
That's the one. Found near the Murrumbidgee River, put on display in Sydney as the proof. This was it. The Bunyip existed.
But it wasn't, was it?
No. Pretty quickly, experts identified it. Not some unknown monster,
Yeah.
but the deformed fetal skull of, well, either a calf or a foal. Just a malformed baby animal.
Wow. So a case of mistaken identity or maybe wishful thinking driving the narrative?
It really shows the colonial mindset, doesn't it? Wanting physical proof, maybe preferring a known, even if deformed, animal, to grappling with a complex spiritual concept from another culture.
Then you also have accounts like Edwin Stockler in 1857. He sketched these big freshwater seals, some huge, like 15 feet long.
Yeah, his claim is really interesting. He sketched these large, unidentified river creatures, but later he strongly denied that the newspapers were right to say he called them bunyips.
Huh. So even someone who saw something genuinely strange was hesitant to use that specific loaded name.
It seems so.
Yeah.
Like even observers of genuinely weird animals were reluctant to equate them directly with the ancient, powerful bunyip figure.
Okay, this historical tangle really pushes us towards the big question. What could be the real-world origins behind the myth, if any? The sources suggest a few strong possibilities.
Right, trying to rationalize the sheer range of descriptions. Let's maybe start with the most grounded one, seals.
Seals, but way inland.
Yeah, Charles Senner and others pointed this out. Seals, particularly southern elephant seals or leopard seals, do sometimes swim huge distances up the Murray and Darling rivers. It's documented.
And they'd look.
Well, sleek, dark, prominent eyes may be fitting that seal dog description. And crucially, they make this incredibly loud, bellowing noise that can easily account for some of the sound descriptions.
Okay, that makes sense for one type of description, but what about the giant, long-necked ones and the sheer weight of the myth?
That brings us to the theory that honestly has the most cultural and maybe even scientific weight. The idea of cultural memory.
The megafauna theory.
Exactly. The idea that the Bunyip legend is an echo, an oral tradition passed down for potentially tens of thousands of years, remembering Australia's extinct prehistoric giants.
We're talking about creatures like Diprotodon, the giant wombat thing.
Yes, imagine a marsupial the size of a rhino. Or Zygomaturus, this huge, maybe semi-aquatic marsupial built sort of like a hippo.
And if you think about their size, calf to hippo, and being large predators or herbivores near water, it matches those descriptions remarkably well.
It does. The legend then becomes this incredible form of oral history, doesn't it? Encoding ecological knowledge about creatures that vanished millennia ago. It's a powerful idea.
Really powerful. Are there other contenders? What about birds? Some descriptions mention emu-like heads or even large eggs.
Yeah, the avian theories try to account for those details. The southern cassowary gets mentioned, big, aggressive bird. But maybe the most famous connection is the Australasian bittern.
Ah, the bunyip bird.
That's the one. Because of its call, it makes this incredibly deep, resonant, booming sound that carries across water, especially during breeding season. It's eerie, hard to place, and sounds much bigger than the bird itself.
So that could easily explain the terrifying roar or bellow associated with the bunyip.
Precisely. It adds another layer to the soundscape of the myth.
What strikes me is that maybe all these theories could be true, in a way. Like the bunyip legend is strong because it's a synthesis. It pulls in memories of extinct giants, sightings of wayward seals, the weird sounds of birds.
And channels all of that into this single figure of consequence, this guardian. I think that's a really good way to put it.
Which brings us neatly to section 3. Its motive. If it is this terrifying predator, what's it actually hunting?
Well, according to the lore, its day-to-day diet seems pretty standard for an apex water predator. Fish, water birds, maybe small mammals. Occasionally livestock, especially after Europeans arrived. It sounds like an opportunistic ambusher, like a crocodile, or maybe a big cat hiding in the reeds.
But there's a crucial difference when it comes to humans, right?
Yes, this is the core philosophical point. It generally doesn't hunt humans for food, for calories. It hunts humans as a consequence, for punishment. When they trespass or break sacred laws, humans are on the menu. They're on the docket, so to speak.
And this is where it gets really dark, that detail from some tribal beliefs, that it consumes the spirit.
Exactly. The physical body becomes almost irrelevant. It consumes the spirit, the essence. One source puts it chillingly. It eats the part of you that does not rot.
Wow, that completely separates it from just being an animal. It's a moral force, spiritual justice, not just hunger.
Absolutely. It gives the creature this eternal, profound gravity.
Okay, so if we treat this creature, this concept, as a kind of theoretical organism designed for this role, what are its key features based on the combined lore?
Synthesizing across the stories, it seems heavily reliant on vibration detection. Living in water, sensitive, low-frequency hearing makes sense. Footsteps near the bank, splashing, that's how it finds you.
And vision.
Excellent nocturnal vision is often mentioned, and crucially, massive lung capacity. This would be needed for staying submerged during an ambush, but also
For the roar.
for that terrifying, deep, booming roar that defines it. That sound needs serious air power.
So it's built to be silent in the water, move smoothly, and then explode out in an ambush. A design perfectly matching its role as this shoreline terror.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Which, kind of surprisingly, leads us to that tactical guide you mentioned from the sources. If this spiritual guardian does get physical, how, hypothetically, would you deal with it?
Yeah, this fictional guide is fascinating because it seems quite logical, based purely on those mythological weaknesses we just discussed.
So if you're up against an ambush predator, relying on surprise from the water.
Rule 1, deny its advantage. You have to try and draw it away from the water, onto dry land, further inland if possible. Take away its explosive launch zone, that ambush blind spot.
Makes sense. And its reliance on low-frequency sound suggests noise is a weapon.
Exactly. The guide suggests chaotic, loud noise engines revving, banging metal, horns maybe could disorient something tuned to silence. And intense light or heat, like flares or strong torches, might deter a night attack, disrupting its vision.
Like fighting many nocturnal water cryptids in folklore. Really, light and noise are key. What about defending the shoreline itself?
The guide mentions using sharp stakes or maybe barbed obstacles at likely exit points from the water, trying to disrupt that powerful launch, target its legs or underbelly perhaps. The suggested gear is pretty standard defense stuff. Spears or pikes for reach, noisemakers, lights.
Classic anti-monster kit.
Yeah.
But the guide also stresses the cultural aspect, doesn't it?
Yes, very clearly. It notes that the preferred, most respectful approach, according to the lore it's drawing from, is not killing it. It's appeasement, ritual, often led by an elder, to send it back or pacify it. You don't kill a guardian, you try to restore balance.
Relocation, not elimination. That feels important.
But if diplomacy fails and it ambushes you, what's the emergency plan?
Pure survival mode. Drop anything slowing you down, run uphill, away from the water, and use noise and light as distractions to break its focus, break the rhythm of its hunt.
It's quite a detailed hypothetical. So wrapping things up, the Bunyip really is this incredible synthesis, isn't it?
Absolutely. It's a creature woven from memory and meaning. It bundles up our deep-seated fears of what lurks unseen in the water, the genuine ecological memory of giant extinct animals, and the crucial social function of enforcing rules and respecting boundaries.
And its name even echoes in modern Australian English. We should probably mention that Bunyip became slang in the 19th century for an imposter or a pretender.
Right, which led to the phrase Bunyip aristocracy, still used sometimes today for people putting on airs, claiming status they don't really have by birthright. A fascinating linguistic echo.
It really is.
And that linguistic trace, that persistence, maybe brings us to a final thought for you, the listener. If a legend like the Bunyip can effectively preserve ecological memory, actual data about extinct megafauna across potentially tens of thousands of years, well, that makes you wonder, doesn't it?
Wonder what?
What vital information about our own deep past or about the massive changes we're making to the planet right now might be encoded in the myths, the warnings, even the conspiracy theories and stories we told ourselves today? What are we unconsciously trying to remember or warn ourselves about?
That's a deep thought to end on. The enduring power of story to hold knowledge we might otherwise forget. Well, we hope you enjoyed this deep dive into the murky, mysterious, and surprisingly complex world of the Bunyip. Keep exploring those depths.